Okay. Armstead goes on, and the question, Nick Wright is always like, he's like the designated Brock Purdy hater, right?
I
He's
hate
always
Nick
saying
Wright.
that Brock Purdy isn't good, and he's this and that. Fine.
Yep.
So they bring in Eric Armstead to sort of like set the record straight to Nick Wright's face. And Armstead, he's a thoughtful guy. He's not going to come in here and just be disrespectful to Nick Wright. So he's like, no, I understand. Christian McCaffrey really did help. But the thing about Brock is that from the wide receivers perspective, because I talked to the wide receivers, what Armstead said, before Brock, he didn't use Jimmy's name. It's like, if you weren't the first guy in the progression, you knew you weren't going to get the ball, and there was no point in running those clear out routes with any type of conviction because the ball wasn't coming to you. But with Brock, he would sometimes go through his progressions quickly or just predetermine before the snap that he's going to. And then Armstead used the name explicitly, Aiyuk. He's like, I mean, maybe if Aiyuk isn't that open, Brock would still give him a chance anyway. And the wide receivers really liked that. What do you make of that answer?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what we've seen, no? Like,
yeah.
Since Jimmy, with Jimmy, Kyle liked Jimmy because it was like almost robotics. Like, it was like, hey, do this, throw the ball here. Like, this guy's going to be open. That's what Kyle liked because he designs his offense and he thinks he's the smartest guy in the world. Mm-hmm. And he thinks this guy's going to be open because he designed it that way. You know what I mean? Which, like, is nice. But, like, I played with a quarterback and, like, an offensive coordinator in high school. It was very similar. But, like, he could read, but our coach kind of was like, hey, go to this guy as the option just because, like, I'm scheming it open. He's going to be open. Whereas, like, if you're a wide receiver in that kind of offense, like, it almost seems like, hey, I'm wide open. Like, I get this plays kind of designed for this guy to be, like, necessarily, like, more open, but I'm wide open and he's, like, not. And that's, like, you know what I mean? So it can get frustrating from a wide receiver standpoint. So I could totally see that. And then with Brock, it's like there was so many off-scheduled plays that happened because he can move, use his legs. And that's kind of a wide receiver's dream. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously plays that are schemed up for, but how many times in the NFL a play breaks down? Like, especially with our line last year, like, it did happen a lot. And Brock was able to extend plays. And, like, that literally is a wide receiver's dream, in my opinion. So, yeah, I agree with it, I guess, what I'm saying.
I agree too. Didn't Armstead said that Brock Purdy like unlocks the offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he unlocks
sort of like
the
forces
offense.
everyone to run their routes at full speed because no one knows if they're going to get the ball or not.
And he uses his legs. I feel like with Jimmy G, Jimmy would just stand there, and if he Jimmy would run, but it would looks like he's running in molasses because he's slow. So I agree with Eric Armstead. I can't really say anything else. I agree with him.
All right, here's what I was thinking about this. I agree with him too. It's kind of obvious, but I think what's interesting is like he basically said he won the wide receivers over. Get started at factormeals.com/Cohn50off and use code Cohn50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Yeah. Okay. But Debo didn't have a problem with Jimmy. Jimmy gave Debo the ball a lot. Yeah. Kittle never had a problem.
That's not even Jimmy, right? Based on that argument, that's not even Jimmy. It's like Kyle giving the ball to Debo. So of course he's not gonna have a problem with Jimmy because he's getting him the ball.
Yeah, you know I feel like Debo's like every quarterback that the Niners have had. Like I feel like he loved Jimmy and he loved Purdy.
Well, hold on, stick with me on this one. What I'm saying is like I don't think Debo and Kittle and Juszczyk were like clamoring for a new quarterback. I feel like they were cool with Jimmy, and the person who really wasn't cool with Jimmy was Aiyuk. They never really had a great connection. I feel like Jimmy would go to Debo. He would go to Kittle. He would go to McCaffrey. And Aiyuk was sort of an afterthought, although he would still throw to him. And I think they never really had a connection. Purdy replaces him, and all of a sudden, who's Purdy going to? Aiyuk. Yeah. And I think he was vocal about how much he liked Purdy, how all in he was with Purdy right away. And I think that carried over until maybe the Super Bowl. And then 3 catches for Aiyuk in the Super Bowl. And I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but things haven't been the same between those two or Aiyuk and the team. Maybe people interpret it as
I don't think
or I don't know.
I think it's Aiyuk and Kyle. Like I still go back to that. I know like a lot of people are like kind of like what's the word, like rebuking that, or like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what the right word is, but they keep saying like, oh, he doesn't have a problem with Kyle, but like you can't tell me the reason why Aiyuk got 3 catches wasn't Kyle. Like that game was so clearly schemed up to be a McCaffrey and Debo game. Yeah. That's it. Like Aiyuk was open a lot, and it almost seemed like Kyle was like, Brock, don't really, like, let's look to target McCaffrey,
hold on.
Debo, like
but
I
the
don't
whole
know.
thing with Armstead, like that differentiated Brock from Jimmy, is that Brock will go off script. Brock will make his own decisions. Just because Kyle's calling passes for Debo, Brock can say, you know what? No, I like this matchup for Brandon. And even if Brandon isn't open, I trust Brandon. And it felt like that didn't carry over to the Super Bowl, that mentality. All of a sudden, it was the Debo show. It was the Kittle show. It was the McCaffrey show. And I don't know. Maybe that's the right call. Like even Jennings, like on the critical plays of the game, the third down in the fourth quarter, the third down in the red zone in overtime, under pressure, unblocked rusher, blindly throwing to Jennings. Whereas I feel like I felt, hey, blindly throw it to me. I'm open.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, but it's also a young quarterback in Brock.
Yeah.
It was just like that's his
First
biggest
year,
game of
no
his
second.
career, right? And like, I see what you're saying, but also Aiyuk has like never really been like I mean, he'll run intermediate outs and crossing routes, but like that's Jennings' game. You know what I mean? So like, whereas like Aiyuk's kind of more like the crossers, the posts, right? The outs, like or the corner routes, like
15 yards.
that's kind of what, like that's kind of what his bread and butter is. So I feel like when you get through a whole season, you're in a Super Bowl, like Brock's used to, hey, there's pressure in my face. Like Jennings is going to be the guy that's open because his route tree is specific to that timing. You know what I mean? Whereas like Aiyuk really wasn't. And so I feel like it was just a mixture of like those things, then also just Kyle not really scheming a lot for Aiyuk. And that's, I mean, Aiyuk said it, like he was frustrated after the Super Bowl, and I don't think he was mad at Brock. Like I really don't.
I just feel like with Aiyuk, ever since he's been here, he's had, whether he's right or wrong, he's sort of acted alienated at times. Like I don't really feel like I'm really one of the guys or valued as much as I should be. And we can decide like who he's mad about, who he blames, who's responsible. But I feel like one of the things that tipped the scales for Purdy early was that he got Aiyuk involved, and he made Aiyuk feel like not only are you one of the guys, but you're wide receiver one on this team, dude. Like you are the future. You're the best guy. You're the number one weapon. And then it kind of stopped. It stopped in the Super Bowl. He didn't really campaign for Aiyuk to get the extension last year. I mean, Aiyuk was just one of the guys after skipping training camp. I don't know. I just feel like one of the things Purdy did so well was bring Aiyuk in. And once again, he's acting alienated. And I think the guy who can really fix this is Brock. You can do it, dude.
I feel like Brock, this was the kind, like, I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I feel like this year was kind of the first year Brock was going off script. Like I felt like during the second year of his career when he was going, like when we went to the Super Bowl, he would go off script sometimes. I feel like this was the first year that Brock actually was going off script. Maybe that's why he didn't have a great year, and maybe he should follow Kyle a little bit more. I don't know. This whole situation, I don't know. I don't really understand what Armstead's saying.
There's different versions of going off script. So like I think early on in his career, he would be like, okay, you're fourth in the progression, but I see pre-snap that you have a good matchup. Like it's going to seem like I'm going through my progressions quickly, but really I'm just going to you.
I'm aiming for you. Okay.
I'm just going to you. But I feel like last year it was like indecision. The opposite. Like, okay, I don't really know where I want to go on this play. Like you're not open, you're not open, you're not open. Let me scramble left.
That's exactly what it felt like.
Like, that's
he was scrambling way too much last year.
Yeah.
Last year he was scrambling way too much.
He was just indecisive. Yeah. If you want to scramble, great. Do it. Like that's what Jaden Daniels, you watch him play, he seems very decisive and doesn't really do anything super flashy. As like Brock last year was like, hold on, let me extend this play 6 seconds. Like, why don't you not do that? How about make a decision? That's like you used to. Like that's sort of how you became the franchise quarterback here.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.